Having chosen to fish up in the water, deciding which pellet waggler to use can be confusing with such an array on the market. Premier Floats produce a comprehensive range of floats specifically designed to enable you to present baits in just about any situation. Let's look at the different types in a little more detail. Straight or cigar style wagglers are the original design of pellet waggler. These come from Premier in two main types, unloaded or fully loaded. Fully loaded means that the float will need no extra weights added to the line. Unloaded floats will require the full capacity of the weight to be added to the line. This is often seen as quite a disadvantage, as pinching the shots onto the line can easily lead to the line breaking. The shorter stumpy pellet waggler on the right is ideal for fishing really shallow swims or close to features such as islands. If you choose to use an unloaded float, then we would strongly recommend that you use a silicone float adapter such as these to attach your float to the line. It will allow you to change the float size quickly and easily without having to break the line. We've already established a fully loaded float should need no further weight adjustment to make it sit perfectly. The major advantages of using loaded floats are that you will have no chance of damaging your line when pinching the shot around the float, and with the loading being concentrated directly into the base of the float, you'll find it will cast easier. Once again, you can see there's a stumpy version for fishing shallow swims against features, but we also produce a clear waggler, which may be useful when the fish are particularly easily spooked. Use a pellet waggler adapter to fix your float to the line. This will allow you to change float or depth instantly. Using one of these is really a must. You may have heard or read about loaded floats diving. This means that the float may bob up and down a few times before it settles in the water. In reality, this won't be a problem, but if you feel you need to overcome the diving, simply use one of our anti-dive discs. These simply push fit directly onto the bottom of the float, eliminating any possible diving. Pellet wagglers made from foam have been introduced over the last couple of years. In reality, these foam wagglers act exactly the same as a wooden float, offering no real advantages. It's purely a matter of individual choice. Most foam wagglers have a cane stem in the bottom, which means you'll need some kind of adapter to attach it to the line. Premier foam wagglers are supplied with an adapter, making it ready to use direct from the pack. Mushroom pellet wagglers were introduced by Premier some 4 or 5 years ago. All mushroom wagglers are fully loaded and need no additional shot on the line. Don't be fooled by the unwieldy looks of these wagglers, as they are highly effective. They are excellent for fishing at distance, where a large amount of line across the water can make it extremely difficult to hook the fish. The mushroom top will offer resistance to taking fish, giving a slight bolt rigging effect. The buoyant tops eliminate float diving, making the float settle instantly. All the floats make an excellent fish attracting splash when cast out, although, for that extra impact, consider using the splasher pictured here in the middle. The Mushroom Special on the right is specially designed for fishing in windy conditions. Having the main buoyancy set well below the surface gives the float far better stability and resistance to the surface drift. As with the loaded floats, use a pellet waggler adapter to attach the float to the line. Having a flight design at the top of the float has some useful advantages. Firstly, you'll find they will make it easier to cast the float further, by giving the float more stability in flight. You'll also find the increase in diameter at the top of the float will make it instantly visible in choppier waters. It's worth noting that the unique Premier round flight design has a smaller surface area than most other flighted floats. This means that while giving the float great airborne stability, it is little affected by the surface winds once in the water. Our flighted pellet wagglers come in both unloaded and fully loaded versions. There's even a flighted distance waggler for reaching the fish that are feeding in places you couldn't normally reach. Once again, a pellet waggler adapter is the recommended way of attaching the loaded floats, with the silicone type being best for the unloaded ones. When the carp are feeding right at the very surface, these little guys are just fantastic. Filling the feeder or the surface coil with a fairly dry ground bait and pellet mix introduces an appetising cloud of feed to within inches of the surface. Have a look at the surface feeder video on our homepage to see it in devastating action. Our surface feeders come in two types, surface rocket or surface coil feeder. Both are extremely easy to use, and which one you choose is purely a matter of personal preference. Here's just a quick reminder of some of the accessories that you'll find helpful. They're not essential by any means, but they'll definitely make things easier. You'll usually hear about the bait being hair-rigged or used with a banded pellet. This is simply a short piece of line that extends from the hook knot and that has either a loop or a bait band attached to it. These can be easily tied by you, although ready tied ones are probably just as good and certainly a lot easier. When it comes to what pellets are best to use, it's a hard question to answer. We would generally use a 6mm pellet for both feed and hook bait, but you may wish to try other combinations. We would usually recommend pellets of 6 or 8mm for this style of fishing. Maybe try feeding 6mm with 8mm on the hook. It's all a matter of trial and error really. There's plenty here to think about, but the most important thing to remember is that no matter how you choose to fish, enjoy it.